Hey guys, welcome back to Diode Press. I'm Graham. This week's video is going to be a printmaking project. It's a little bit different. I'm not starting from scratch because I started this print about a year ago, and as I was working on it back then, no matter what I did to it, it was making it worse. You know, I added Akua tint and it made it worse. I added line etching and it made it worse. So I abandoned the project. And then this week I decided to take it out of the storage and try to finish it off. And I'll go through quickly a couple pictures of where it was a year ago when I started, just so you can see it, and then I'll make it quick because I hate watching slideshows on YouTube, and then I'll get into the actual video of what I did to finish it off this week. This is the first time that I've used Akua inks, which are like a water-based printmaking ink, so I'll talk about those a little bit, and yeah, here we go. Here we have the polished plate. So I rocked the plate here using the Mezzotint rocker, which I've shown in my other videos. Moved on to scraping and burnishing to get a rough idea of what the print's gonna look like. And then here's the first proof. So I decided I was gonna make originally like a mason jar, and the island would be floating in there. Then I moved on and I was gonna do Akua tint for the background. So I used hard ground to stop out the background, and also the Mezzotint ground to protect that from the acid. And then here's a state proof of what the print looked like at that point. And I just all around wasn't pleased with it. So I cut the plate. I cut it down to 4.5 by 6.5, and that's where we are today. So when I started this project again this week, I was gonna scrape away the entire background and then burnish it to a smooth finish. Probably not the best idea because there's no way to polish it back to a new plate look. It was just gonna take way too much time, but I went through anyways and got rid of all the Akua tint, just scraping it down, just at least so there'd be no texture when I printed it. It would be smooth, and then I'll deal with the plate tone in a couple later steps here. So after scraping away the bulk of the Akua tint background, I then went in and burnished around the floating pieces of island. You'll see later on why I just did this part. But basically just trying to clean up the edges, get it nice and smooth, and so there wouldn't be any plate tone on that area. So finally at this point, I'm going in and adding some highlights to the island piece. It felt like it was too dark and wanted to add some lights, lighten up the surface as well. Now we're ready to run a proof and see what it's looking like. So like I said, this is the first print I've done using Akua inks, so I thought I'd give it a try. I just bought the smallest size they have to give it a shot. The Akua Intaglio Mars Black ink. And when I put it on the palette, it felt pretty loose, so I also purchased some of they call it the mag mix. So I added that and stiffened up the ink to how I like. And I will say it was really nice when I was all done with this to be able to just wash it off in the sink with soap and water, as opposed to having to get out all the solvents like I normally do. So I think I'll keep using it for a few more prints and try to get a feel for it, maybe try some of the other colors they have. So now I'm inking the plate like I normally do. The only difference is I'm using the Akua, what do they call it? Wiping fabric, I guess, as opposed to tarlatan. Feels pretty similar. I guess it does what they say it's supposed to do. I was happy with it. We'll see how it lasts, repeated use, if it holds up like tarlatan does. So I made a template for the press so I know where to put the plate and where to put the paper, and then I have a piece of plastic over it to protect it. And I keep these so for future prints I can always just reuse it. Alright, so here's the first proof. Pretty happy with it so far. It's a little bit darker than I wanted, so I might lighten up some of the areas. And there's a lot of plate tone. I'm not worried about it at this point. I'll take care of that in the next step. So here I'm making a stencil that I can use to cut out basically a mask that I can put over the plate. So I cut out the areas where I want the print to show through. I then transfer this onto just regular newsprint. So I have a stack of maybe, I think 10 sheets, 15 sheets here. And I did this for the whole edition and just cut out all the areas that I want to be able to preserve the Mezzotint print of. But wherever the paper is, it'll block the print from hitting the paper. And this song I've done with, linoleum prints, using a mask to basically when you roll over it to not put the ink on certain areas, or if you want to put different colors on different parts of the block. But this is the first time I've done it with an intaglio print. The next step is making a template for the tree. So I'm gonna Shinkole on a small patch of green paper, and actually this is not the paper that I ended up going with. I used a different shade of green, but it's the same process. And then test fitting it to make sure it fits onto the tree where I want it. So now I'm inking up the plate for the final print. So here's the small piece of paper that I cut out for the trees. And I'm using nori paste, which is a acid-free paste. Then I put on my newsprint mask that I created earlier, and then finally apply the Shinkole piece of paper where I want it. Then finally positioning the piece of paper and running it through the press. And so here when it comes out of the press, you can see when I take it off, it has the paper with the print on it, as well as the piece of newsprint on top. And so when I peel away the newsprint, it leaves just pure paper with no plate tone, and then the image where the plate printed through. And here's the final print. Alright, so that wraps it up for this week. I liked how the print came out. I feel like I'm finally satisfied with it, and it's a lot smaller, as you can tell, than when I originally started it. So anyways, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up down below and make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment box, and I'll be back next week. Alright, thanks.